All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the State of the League, the series where I, Jack, aka Jokic Joe Star, am taking a look at the upcoming NBA season through the lens of fans of different franchises. And today I am blessed to be honored with the presence of God of the Backyard Sports himself, Kofie. Kofie, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. It's always a good day to, be around celebrating backyard football as we have the shrine over here. But I'm excited to talk about the Detroit Pistons as always.
Yeah, dude, I cannot think of a more electrifying team in the league to get into than the Detroit Pistons. Oh my. Yeah. Oh man. I just the unfortunate thing about the series is if I have you on early and it's tenure, it means you're probably not that good. I'm kind of structuring it so we talk about the contenders right before the season starts, and it is
Fair.
late August. So all right, man. Let's get into it. Question number one I got for you is how do you feel about where the Pistons are currently sitting at as a franchise?
I feel like the vibes are up compared to give it like a decade ago. The vibes are just so different. There's like hope. There's there's not us like trying to like trick ourselves into believing in like Andre Drummond and Brandon Jennings as like a combo or just winning like 38 to 40 games or something like that. There's hope that like there's a true rebuild going on, and that is something that I'm actually like really excited that it happened. I used to call it a Pistons purgatory, where the Pistons would never fully rebuild. They'd get the 8th to 12th pick. They'd probably smoke the pick, and then you're just right back in the same position. And I'm glad that the Pistons, like, we had to suffer through those bad years, but the fact that we were able to get Cade and we were able to just like start fresh with like this young talent is really, I'm really optimistic about it. And there's really a lot of ways that it can go in terms of like who develops, who doesn't, who starts, who doesn't. And it just makes it like watchable, fun basketball. Even though the team's not going to get like wins and losses, that's not really what I'm focused on right now, which is kind of like at peace a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's very telling how if you check in with like a Pistons fan or maybe like a Magic fan last season, something like that, and you compare like a Chicago Bulls fan who are definitely I think a team that's like really situated in that purgatory that you talked about. The fan of the team that is like losing but has a ton of young guys is so much more happy and just like it's so much
Absolutely.
more. There's no pressure to do anything. Anything good that happens, it's sweet. Anything bad that happens, we weren't expected to do anything anyways. Yeah, it's definitely the best of both worlds. And so, especially for Detroit, you guys have kind of been grinding the rebuild the quote unquote correct way for a while now, just like taking on assets, getting good picks, stuff like that. And I think I like where you guys are at as far as like young cores in the league go. I would say once I like kind of sat down and looked at everybody on the roster, especially with Thompson picked this year, probably one of the more underrated young cores in the league. I think the Cade Cunningham injury kind of made people sleep on like what is coalescing in Detroit. But Duran looks really good. Jaden Ivey looks better than young guards usually look, in my opinion. I think 14, 5, and 6 or whatever he put up is like a really impressive line for a guy that young on a team with pretty much no structure. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in your boat. I like where Detroit is at right now.
And I think the fact that like Detroit will always be underrated for a while because they're just not going to be visible. Detroit only gets they might have one national TV. I don't count NBA TV games as national TV games.
No,
They
yeah,
might get one. Um it's like that where it's like, hey, if we're gonna have to push our like Cade Cunningham agenda or Jaden Ivey agenda, it's gonna be strictly social media because no one's like gonna see it. Like that's not what like inside the NBA is gonna talk about, and I totally understand. Like there's nothing like let us like get our stuff together for a couple of seasons. But it's been really nice. I wasn't when we watching going into the lottery, I was like, I knew we weren't going to get number one, but I was hoping for a top 3 pick. So watching us get the 5-1 was really devastating. But then I looked and I was looking at I think Cam Whitmore and then Aswar Thompson, just like trying to like buy. I was like trying to just buy in, be like, hey. But the thing about that lottery thing, I think, is the fact that Cade is such a good like base in terms of like he makes everybody around him better, that I have been able to look at drafts and be like, doesn't really matter what pick we get. It's just like anyone that we draft is going to fit with Cade in some capacity. And that has made me so excited. And I feel like there hasn't been a player on the Pistons like that in a really long time.
Oh, in so long. I mean, you could argue that like there hasn't been like a player of that capacity since like before the 2000s. Because even with like the Pistons teams that were constantly going to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's just a bunch of guys who are like fit together really like well, just defend stuff like that. But it's not that Cade archetype where, he is making everybody better, and you really have this confidence that he can blossom into a guy who's going to be the best player on a team that's making very deep playoff runs. And I think that's a big advantage to have over a lot of other teams who do really stress about the draft still. And I mean, you're going to be concerned about the draft regardless if you're picking in the top 5. But like, there were a lot of other teams who were like, if we don't land top 3 in this draft and we're tanking again going into next year, when it looks, I mean, everybody's completely shitting on that draft. I'm sure it's going to like, the hype will build up as the season goes on and everything. But having Cade is really good just to kind of have that foundation secured already.
Absolutely. And that's why it makes me like so excited to see this team, because I was at Summer League, but I was there on work, so I really didn't get to catch any of the games. But being able to watch Thompson and Sasser, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited for like just the potential, because again, it's not about the record right now. It's about how they'll look after, like, by the end of the season. Like, is there growth? Is there development? Is there something new added to the arsenal? And that's like what I'm gonna like look for in every player that's on the roster, pretty much.
And you'd be hard pressed with a roster full of this many young guys. It's going to happen with someone on there. It's just kind of like a matter of who takes a step forward and like to what degree they do it. I think the Pistons have a lot of guys with like big second or third year steps in them that'll be really fun to look out for this season.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to move on. This is the second question. How do you feel about everything they did this offseason as far as, like, I don't know, the Thompson pick rocks as far as I'm concerned, but then I think they re-signed Stewart and did like a couple other things. How do you feel about their offseason?
I think it was a good offseason overall. I think that, again, there was a period where there were so many uncertain things, like Dwayne Casey left, or he's like taking an office role, I think. And it was, I saw these tweets going around that like, hey, we would get the 5th pick, sign Dylan Brooks, and hire Kevin Ollie. And I was like, dude, this is terrible. I feel I didn't. So my thing about Thompson was that at the time is like, OTE is so hard to gauge for me, because all of the people that talk so highly about Overtime Elite also work at Overtime. So that was my main thing, where I was like, hey, I can't fully just believe and buy in if you also work there, right? So it was one of those things where and I felt like a lot is riding on the Thompson twins, I feel like, as well, because how well the Thompson twins do in the league also reflects like how viable OTE is as like a resource, as like a, hey, we'll get you to where you want to go. Like we're it's like a good, like they're the face of OTE, I guess. But I was cool about that. Isaiah Stewart, I'm really excited to have him back. I know that the Pistons have like 88 big men right now, but it was fun to just like, I've seen Isaiah Stewart, and like the offseason, he's like developing as like a shooter. I just need a floor spacer. That's fine. Like, as a Pistons player, as a Pistons fan, sorry, why did I even say that? As a Pistons fan, yeah, I'm on the team, bro. I'm hooping now. as a Pistons fan, I've always looked at so many of our rosters over the years and just been like, dude, we just need like two, like a shooter or two, and that would have just like helped so much. And I feel like I don't know what Bonnie Williams is going to do, but I really hope that Cade in space like catches on, because I've seen Cade in the like Team USA scrimmages like do so well. I just need more. I can't like I don't want Cade Cunningham in like just clogged areas. I feel like that doesn't like his passing, his ability to like control everything. I feel like it's heightened when there's just so much more space around them. So I feel like Isaiah Stewart's progression as a range shooter as what like would be like so vital. Same thing with like Ivy's. People have like seen the workouts being like, oh, his shooting touch like looks. I just need every Pistons player just be better at like outside shooting, and then we're gonna be really cooking. That's it, honestly.
Hell yeah. The most, a very reasonable request is everybody bump your 3-point percentage up like 5
just a little
points.
bit.
They did. I was surprised. I didn't. One of the quieter moves they made was Joe Harris is on the roster now for Detroit, and I mean maybe that could help. I think he's kind of like. I think he's at the point in his career where he's either due for a year that will kind of like re-solidify him as one of the league's best shooters the way he was early on in Brooklyn, or he's probably like on his way out of the league if it never really picks up back to where it was, because that's kind of like the skill that made him an NBA player, and if he's not doing that, it's kind of hard to justify having him on the floor. But if the Pistons could kind of rehab him and just get like the first 45 whatever games before the trade deadline out of him going like 43% from three, and then they move him for a little bit of draft capital at the deadline, I think that is like a clear positive for the Pistons.
Yeah, I think that's a win, especially like he's going apparently into like his 9th season.
Holy
I didn't
shit.
know that. That's what it says on Basketball Reference, but I cannot believe it's been that long. But I guess so. But that's the thing. It's like the Pistons have always, for a lot of like players, have been like, if you come here, it's like a kind of like a proving ground for like, hey, you go to like another team for a little bit. It's like, okay, Jeremy Grant was like, hey, I want to be the number one option. The Pistons were like, okay, we're not interested in like winning games. Come here and like be the first option. And then he like left. And I was like, all right, whatever.
Perfect. Cool.
Like it's like, I guess that this is our season. That was the weird year. We've had a lot of those. But
that made me so mad when it happened, because I was like, the Nuggets you could tell they were close after that bull run, and Jeremy Grant was pretty instrumental to the team at that point. Michael Porter Jr., I was not sold on his back, not completely crumbling. So I was like, dude, if you stay here, like the ceiling is a title. I don't know if we're guaranteed to get it, but like he's like, no, I'm going to Detroit. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I mean, worked out fine now that he's in Portland getting $1 billion to win. I don't know. They might be good, but I don't know. That whole situation just made me so mad.
That's like your way to a contract. If you ball out for us for like a season, or be like, hey, I have all these points now, then get a big contract somewhere else.
They're like, did you win a lot of games? Don't worry about that, man. Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all.
22. It was like 43% from the field, but who cares? I was cooking. Me a little bit of money. Hell yeah. I'm dead. All right. The third question I have for you here is, what are your expectations for the upcoming NBA season? What would a disappointing season look like to you versus like a surprisingly good one?
A surprisingly good, I feel like, would be like, how I feel like the Thunder making the play, and I know that we don't have the same like outreach and like big promising young core as like the Thunder. They have like pieces for days. We don't have that.
Yeah.
We don't have pieces for days. But the Thunder being able to like make the play in, I was like, that's such a good accomplishment for them. And it feels like I was like, hey, and they have all of that. And I was like, if the Pistons like even are in play-in talks, I am fine with that. Because it's not about wins or losses for me right now. It's more about just like, are these players going to be cohesive as a unit? Are they getting to know each other? Are they, because they've been playing without Cade for a season, and then they have new pieces as well. Like, is Thompson going to his weakness was like shooting consistency. Where does that go at the end of the day? I mean, Marcus Sasser, all these young players, but like, can they play together? That's just my main thing. It's just like, cool, there's a lot of upside here, but we can't just have a lot of talent and just try to like force feed it and it doesn't work. And that now we're just like incoherent as a roster. I don't want that. I want us to like gel. I want us to like get used to playing around each other and stuff like that. So I just want to see growth, and they're getting used to a new coach as well. So I just want like the settling in and all of that. I want the chemistry to like be good. I'm worried about that more than wins and losses at this point.
Absolutely. And my bullet for where the Pistons are at as a franchise under that question, someone like completely removed from the fandom and everything, I do feel confident they'll have like a surprisingly good season by the standards they've set for themselves within like the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not sold that it's going to be this upcoming season, but if they spent this one, like you said, getting to like gel together and all of that stuff and figuring out strengths and weaknesses, figuring out the new coach, I think like the talent is gonna be there. I really like everything that's going on in Detroit, and so I think within the next 2 years or 3 years, there's gonna be a season where nobody is even like thinking about it, and they win 37 games, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, they're gonna be really good in a couple of years."
Yeah, I want that kind of season. I want the like, oh, dude, the best is yet to come, and they're already at this point. Like, I want that kind of season. That'd be the highest, and then the lowest would be like nobody improves, and we're back in like not like the high lottery again. I'm not expecting to be like high lottery like last year. I'm expecting to be like maybe mid lottery or something like that. That's more fine with me.
And I think one of the difficult things about being a team that recurringly goes to the lottery that way, it's fine if you're a team like the Wizards right now, where you're just like gobbling up every young player that will possibly come to your team. But with the Pistons, when you already have kind of a glut of young talent, especially at like the big man position, for example, there's just the more lottery picks you add, it just kind of becomes more and more difficult to like find minutes for everybody and develop
Yeah.
everyone accordingly. And so I think, well, if they think again, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world to add a nice young player. But ideally, I would like developing the guys that are already on the roster would be a lot better for the Pistons. And so, yeah, I agree with that. That would not be very good to get back into that top 5 range.
Yeah, especially with like the roster that we have right now. It's just like I'm like, no, we have enough right now to like just get everybody together. I think we have enough pieces. They just have to just be like, here's it. We're not like waiting on someone else to come into the door. This is not a last year season. This is not a 2 years ago season. Like, we have the piece. Like, I think that the rebuild is like kind of a little bit over. Like, but if the door's not completely shut, I think we're like in the middle of like closing the door and be like, hey, this rebuild is not like, we have our core, we have our people. Like, this is all right. We have to find our team identity. Like, let's go now, basically.
Absolutely. I think Monty Williams is a good guy to have for that situation. Somebody who's like, I don't know, gonna bring a ton of structure and like, obviously he's not a veteran player, but a veteran presence to the locker room, like he's been in a lot of situations that all of the guys in the locker room want to be in at one point in their career. And so I think as far as like guys in charge that a team full of young men could kind of rally around and like buy into as their leader, I think Monty Williams is a really good hire for Detroit.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well. I feel like, I don't know, it was weird that like the Dwayne Casey era is just a weird thing to look back on, because like the team is just so bad, and you're just like, and you're not, and it's like, and getting like the former coach of the year was cool, but it kind of just stuck to me as a Pistons fan, being like, not even Dwayne, like no one can save this team right now. The way that we're
Yeah.
constructed, like nobody can. Like you could see it on Dwayne Casey's face after in games. Like you're just like, he doesn't want to. I understand. I wouldn't. It's rough basketball. Like
Oh, yeah.
like there are bad basketball teams that are at least like exciting to watch. Like it was rough basketball at a lot of times. Like, oof,
Yes, you can have fun losing a lot of basketball games. It's
yeah.
possible. And the Pistons, I mean, every time I would like throw a game on, I'd be like, dude, this is brutal to watch. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah,
And
as soon
yeah,
as
especially once Cade went down, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not putting a game on for the rest of the year.
there are times where like as soon as Cade got subbed out, I was like, this team is not like there's nothing redeeming. There's nothing redeeming about it. Like the team, the way it was
It's
like
just
constructed,
like
it was just like, yeah, I don't. It's tough.
giving I don't know. You this season you were kind of in the last throes of the Killian Hayes experiment to me. That from my perspective is probably done. But like letting him kind of try to get his sea legs under him with the second unit a lot of the time, I think that it definitely helped contribute to that feeling where Cade goes to the bench and it's like, all right, let's see what they can do, and it's just like 4 minutes of like if Cade had made a game competitive, it just got completely erased by everything that was
Yeah,
going on.
it's gone. It's like it was just like a constant uphill battle, and I feel bad for Killian. I'm like, there was a lot wrong with this Pistons team, and of course, like I, I feel like it's one of those things where like a change of scenery for him would be fine. Like if a team wants to take a flyer out on him, that's fine. But like also because the thing is, we just drafted Thompson and Sasser, and then we have Ivy and Cade, and it's like, all right, backcourt's getting a little clogged over here. You're gonna have to contribute in a positive way to like get good minutes. So I don't know, man. I feel bad for
Yeah,
him.
it's tough when you at like there's kind of a cycle that goes on when you draft a guy, you want him to be good, he's not good. Everybody gets mad at him, rightfully so. You're like, dude, we were expecting you to be better. And then it kind of like turns over to where you take a step back and you're like, holy shit, like it sucks that he's not good, but it also sucks that he's like a 19, 20-year-old kid that has an entire city being like, what the fuck? And every other video you see of him online is like, look at him try to score with his right hand. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's very similar. The last episode I did it was about the Charlotte Hornets, and it's kind of similar to Dennis Smith Jr.
Oh
Coming from
man.
Dallas, and like now they let him go in free agency. But as far as like he's turned into a really good defender, and he showed out a lot of promising stuff for Charlotte in the last like quarter of the season last year. And it would not surprise me to see something like that happen with Killian Hayes, where he just like focuses really hard on one or two aspects of the game, just be like a bench contributor at some point.
Yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. is a player that I like watched in high school. Like there was a tournament in North Carolina where he played, and he dropped like 38 or something while being like double teamed as soon as like he stepped over half court. It was a great like, and he was one of those players where I was like, oh, this kid has like the tools. I thought he was going to be future all star. Like he's one of those players where I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I
Like
was
for
sold. I
sure.
think when they shipped him out for Porzingis to the Knicks, I thought it was going to be kind of like what Brunson has become there now, where it's like a little
Yeah.
guy, little undersized, but crazy athlete, a guy the city can really rally behind, making extremely cool plays. And yeah, it never panned out, but I don't know. He
Yeah.
was, especially in high school, his high school mixtape is disgusting, dude.
Yeah. Good. That's a good mixtape era back then.
Yeah, circa like 2017 or whenever he was coming out. Yeah. All right. We could talk about high school mixtapes all day, but I want to move
For
on
sure.
to the trade deadline of 2024. What do you want or expect to Detroit to do around that point?
I don't. So the thing is that you go through this roster, you see like all the youth, and then you see Bojan Bogdanovic, and like he was in trade talks earlier this year, and I'm like, this man's about to be like 34, 35. So he doesn't fit the Pistons like timeline. And I feel like there are going to be some playoff teams that are going to want that level of scorer for sure. So like if he like got traded, I'd be like, okay, no hard feelings for like that's fine.
Oh yeah.
Now between Bagley and Wiseman, it's just like I don't want either of them to go. But if Monty Williams like puts one of them in his doghouse, I'm like, okay, then that's it. Like that would be the like whoever he doesn't want to play, I'd be like, hey, because I feel like we have, first of all, Duren's my number one priority, like as a big man right now. Like Duren's my number one priority. Resign Stewart. I would love Stewart to be a great four. Like
Yeah.
he'd be like a
And I think
great.
he's got a good game for that.
Yeah, I think him and Duren like that would be like, oh, that's fine. Like Stewart's the perimeter dude, Duren's just the bully down low. Like, but then you get to Wiseman and Bagley, and you feel not all you always feel like they do the same things, but you feel like you're just like, okay, if these two players could become one player, that'd be dope. But now you got two of them, which is cool. If you want to do like platoon bigs, I'm fine with that, or like a mix and match all the time. And I'm very curious like what Monty Williams does in terms of like staggering them out, just experimenting for the first quarter of the season, and then because I think it would make me a little bit sad if like one of those players is just like out of the rotation complete. Like if we start to see that, I'm gonna be like, ooh, no, like because I feel like there's so much potential. And I love how the Pistons have been buying low on like high draft picks, like bargain bin hunting or like NBA thrift shopping, basically. Where it's like,
That's a good
where it's,
series. Damn, yeah.
yeah, it's like they're like, hey, we're not going to be like a big free agent destination, but we will buy low on these players that have not panned out over here. I like that like idea. And we were in summer league. You saw like Wiseman shooting threes, and then you saw like Bagley. Oh, I don't think Bagley was in summer league. I may be misremembering, but yeah, I saw like Wiseman like shooting threes, and I was like, he made one, and I was like, okay, I believe. Like I believe, like for Wiseman, I'm like, there is something there.
Absolutely.
Like you
Like when you
see it,
watch him.
yeah, you see it. You're like, there's something there. But then I look over at Duren and I'm like, yep, that's the guy. That's our big down low right now, So I'm really torn. But with what the Pistons did with like Sadiq Bey last year, I can see them doing to like Bogdanovich if a playoff team like is like, hey, we need an extra scorer. Well, what do you want for that? I can see him being the player that gets shipped. Or Joe Harris, like you mentioned earlier, if there's like we need a playoff teams like, hey, we need a spot up shooter, and Joe Harris has actually been like really good. Like I can see that too, for sure.
Yeah. Bogdanovich is the name that jumped out to me. My concern with him, honestly, because yeah, he's legit. I think he's been 34 for like 3 or 4 months now. He's older. And,
Okay.
and I mean, I thought they were going to give him up at the deadline last season, and I thought they were going to get like a pretty good haul for him. He was putting up really impressive numbers, and it would be such a Drummond era Pistons move to hold him. And then they're like, all right, we're ready to move you. And he like his knee just blows out backwards. And like it's just like all of the value is gone and you can't get anything for him anymore. So if he is looking like the same player, I'm big on a competitive team doing something to get him on the roster.
For sure.
I think the Lakers are in talks with every single player who's even remotely good and remotely considered being traded. But I don't know. They could figure it out. I also think Milwaukee might look to shake things up a little bit just because of I don't know. Milwaukee gives me weird vibes these days with how old a lot of their players are, and with Giannis talking like, if everyone's not bought in, I'm not re-signing. I don't know. It's very shaky. So if they're looking to make one more run at it, I think they could do a lot worse than adding Bogdanovich to the team. But
for
like
sure,
you said,
yeah.
with the bigs is a difficult situation because to rehab one of those guys' careers takes so many minutes, and you have two of them that you're trying to do at the same time. And then, like you said, Duran is the guy to me. So, like, you're essentially asking them to figure out how to play backup. But, yeah, I think I would lean Wiseman just because I think the upside's a little higher. And I think the floor is probably better. I think when I was younger and I was watching Marvin Bagley at Duke, I overestimated the kind of athlete that he was. And I think being that athletic would definitely help James Wiseman to figure out how to even be like a JaVale McGee type player at his best. Whereas Bagley, I think he's going to need to develop a wider variety of skills to kind of stick around as a backup big.
Yeah, and it hurts because it's like I want Bagley to work so bad for some like team. You know, I feel like the Sacramento Kings was just they were in a weird space at the time as well. I just like feel bad that like there's collateral damage from that. But I do hope that he finds like Marvin Bagley finds his perfect fit. I just don't think it's with us. But like as long as he's here, I want to play him on like for at least a little bit. Like I'm not gonna just. I don't want to be the team that just like sits Bagley, and now we're just like okay, because I know that there's probably some other team that would probably be like, you know what, he might work over here. You know, if that's the case, then I'm all for it. But
yeah, and it's also so unfair to him to be that guy that it goes Ayton Bagley, Luka Trey, or whatever like the draft order was originally. Because now, I mean, it stuck with him in Sacramento, and I think he's getting to that Markelle Fultz point where people are like, maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe we can like get him to be a contributor in this league. But just in terms of I don't know, luck in draft position, that is really shitty for Marvin Bagley to go right there.
yeah, it's like people like Kings fans are always be like, yeah, should have picked Luka and stuff. But that's a pick where like I feel like I understand the reasoning a little bit, you know, where it's like it's like you have like Fox play like Luka had like plays the slowest pace in the league or something like that. And then you have like De'Aaron Fox as well. I was just like, okay, like I understand like what they were trying. I get it, but like I understand it's still a draft miss, but I do understand like the logic behind it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think also if it happens again, Luka, like if a draft like that happened again, and we had all of the knowledge we have about Luka now, he's kind of revolutionized how people feel about European prospects again. He did like a reverse Darko on the league a little bit. Yeah. So now everyone who's even like kind of good in Europe, we're like, dude, this is professional ball over there. He's really skilled. And so I don't know. I think it's probably like a pretty straightforward Luka goes second in that draft again. But at the time, absolutely. Like I get what they were thinking and everything. It just didn't really pan out.
Yeah, it's unlucky for sure.
All right. And my fifth question I have for you right now is which player are you looking forward to the most to see progress in 2023-24?
Over the entire league? Or I feel like the answer is still going to be Cade. I feel like
damn, all right. Hell yeah.
No, but like if it's Piston specific, then I'll definitely say it's Cade without a doubt, you know. I think that we're expecting Cade to be this like type of player, and we've seen like flashes of like how good he can be. I really just want to see like the injury year robbed us of like the progression that we were supposed to see, and I just want to see that this year. Especially like that's our guy. He's the engine, you know, and you want to see Cade make another leap, which I will be like insufferable if that happens. Like I will be so insufferable as a Pistons fan. Like and no one's gonna care because it's like me watching League Pass and everyone's been like, hey, and they're like 8 other games are on. What are you talking? Like no one cares. But like
for right now,
Kate's going off right. It's like, hey, we're trying to watch like LeBron's 88th year can you quiet
Yes.
down over? It's like one of
There's
those.
20 other storylines going on right now. Nobody cares about the Pistons, pal. Yeah.
I
Tough. Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of players that I'm like looking forward to. Like for me, it's like Josh Giddey, big Josh Giddey fan over here. Sengun,
Oh yeah.
um,
You don't have to sell me on Sengun stock. Oh my
Sengun for
god.
sure. There are so many other players. I feel like the Thompson twins, of course, both of them. That you saw like the summer league sparks from both of them. Like the draft class, Scoot, of course. I'm just a lot of names, but I was curious because you're a Nuggets fan. I was like, what do you think about the Christian Braun? Like, do you think that what do you how do you, since they don't have Bruce Brown anymore, how do you think that they'll be able to just
I think okay, so first and foremost, losing Bruce Brown sucks straight up. There's
yeah.
no other way around it. He is like one of probably the best value contract in the league last season, and
Mhm.
just like one of the best role players in the league, super good connector and all that. On the other hand, I have never seen like defending champs that won so soundly lose like their fifth, sixth best player on some nights, and people are like, "This is the one. They're done. They're never getting back." Oh my god! Like, I'm like, dude, yeah, it sucks that like everyone else that was good is still on the team. I don't know what to tell you guys. So, I mean, I think Christian Brown is a really good guy to have stepping into that role. And I think the timelines worked out really well where we got a year where he was playing big minutes, but was also learning as much as he could from Bruce Brown, which is definitely the mold that you want a guy like Christian to like step into in the league, to be that like motor off the bench, connective piece, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I think he'll be fine at it. He's not going to be the shooter that Bruce Brown was, and probably not like the backup point guard in the same way. Like you could really, if you were desperate, like throw Bruce Brown out there to run the offense, and it wasn't the best thing in the world, but like some good stuff would happen. You'd get like a Jeff Green back cut or something every now and then. And so I think, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, but I think as far as the Nuggets go, all of the contributions are going to kind of weigh on the established guys that we have. Besides, there's a young guy called Peyton Watson who was on the G League team for the Nuggets. He's like 6'8" and can hit his head on the rim, and I mean, not do much besides that. But I think his defensive upside is super high. So if they need like throw a wing out there for a little bit, I think you guys might see some of him, and I like what he's shown so far.
Okay. I'm excited to see this Nuggets team more, so I
Yeah.
think, yeah, like it's so refreshing to see like Jokic be celebrated, especially after the fucking MVP. That race was just so annoying to watch.
Disgusting. Yeah.
Such
I mean, I hope nobody that was in the race, like Giannis could win it again. We could get a new winner. I don't care. I am like done with the Jokic and Embiid stuff.
Oh my god, the war going. It was such a war, man. I was like, dude.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I was toying with just asking you straight up how excited you were to watch Cade Cunningham. I would be shocked if there was a Pistons fan out there that I asked this question to, and they were like, I don't know, Jalen Durant or someone like that, because all those guys rock.
Yeah.
But the franchise cannot move forward unless Cade becomes the player that everyone thinks he's capable of being.
Absolutely.
And I mean, with all the shit that went down at Team USA, it sounds like he is capable of being that guy. Like, you love seeing people excel in situations like that where they're surrounded by the best of the best and kind of separate themselves into like looking really good the way Cade Cunningham did. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see him come back.
Yeah, like for sure, 100%. And I love the thing of that part about like Team USA basketball, where it's like not really even about like the competitions and stuff, like the games that they're playing. It's just about like either them getting accustomed to each other, learning new moves, or just being like, hey, I want like measure how truly good I am or like what I need to improve at. I just love how that is like a good barometer for all these players, and for Cade and Dern to go there and just like be like one of the most impressive. Like everyone's like, yeah, Cade and Dern look really good like together. Like that was just like those whispers were enough for me to be like, oh, something good's happening this year. Like I can
Yeah,
feel it.
especially because they were on like the select team because they're not out there at FIBA right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were on like whatever scrimmage team it's called, and you don't like to hear the whispers coming from it, and they're not even on like the real Team USA. I think that probably says a lot about like how well they were actually playing. I know there was some like a little bit of film that came out from those scrimmages, and he was like not missing. He's making all the right reads. He looks as physically imposing as you want him to look, that's what I really liked about the Thompson pick too, is that having two guys with ball skills who are both 6'7" and just like not like LaMelo Ball 6'7", like legitimately strong, broad shouldered, going to the rim, stuff like that. I think that gives you a ton of versatility with the lineups that you can roll out there, and I think that is not necessarily an underrated part of the Thompson pick, but I think it's a really good one that you can look out for.
For sure. I just love the like Cade, Ivy, and Thompson. Like I'm like, yo, there's just so much upside, especially in transition, dude. Like the Pistons Summer League in transition. I'm like, dude, this is one of the most exciting summer league teams I've seen in a while. Like I was like, wow, like it's just beautiful, man. Like it's just beautiful basketball.
That's
I was like,
that's such a Pistons moment. Is when you're like, this summer team, man. Oh my god, I've moved by it.
Because the summer league team is basically just our entire roster. We've had that for years, where it's just like we just like, hey, our summer league team is like just our team, basically. Like, and it's like that part. And I was just like, oh, I see all the pieces. Like, because usually summer league is just like not the best brand of basketball, but seeing them in transition was just like, oh, dude, I'm so in for the season. I was like so excited.
Yeah, I think summer league. I think how much you can enjoy summer league is a real good barometer of how much of a sicko you're becoming about basketball. Because like a couple of years ago, never would have even thrown it on, but now I'm like, Bari Smith is cooking for the Rockets. I gotta watch this, man. And so I don't know. I think
and going to Vegas is like it's like cool because it's like you see anyone that like goes to summer league in Vegas, like it's like basketball degenerate. Like it's like peak basketball degenerate because like Vegas is a great time. By the end of it, you're just like, dude, it was a great time. I can't wait. Like I'm glad there's another year between this because you can't just like go like for a while, but it's fun.
That'll burn you out.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that sounds super fun. Maybe I'll get to make it out there next year or one of these times. But
yeah, do it.
It seems like a super exciting time. All right, the final question I have for you is: which team do you think is going to win the NBA title? And you can't say Detroit.
No, I'm not going. Yeah, no. Odds, dude. I might go with you. I might go with the Nuggets again. I think we might be back to back. Because I feel like the thing about Jokic is that this man is just an absolute Terminator. Like all this talk of like that whole series was like Eric Spoelstra just trying everything he could. Like I'm like I'm like Eric Spoelstra. I'm like that's one of the best coaches of all time, and you can see like the adjustments game to game. One of my favorite parts about that final was like the YouTube like film breakdowns that people were talking. Like it was an actual chess match, you know, and Jokic just like. It was just such beautiful where it's like, okay, you give me this, okay, that's fine, I'll do this. Like, give me this, like I feel like that's so rare among like the top of the top players where like a lot of times where it's like you have to. I feel like a lot of players where it's like you have to put up this for the team. I feel like the team around Jokic just benefits like it's a symbiotic relationship, of course. Like this team, like Aaron Gordon has gotten so many easy dunks and layups just by playing with Jokic. It's such a fun thing to watch. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, the reason why you can't double team Jokic, just like boom, Michael Porter Jr. is just there, and it's like boom, um, Aaron Gordon. And it's like, oh, also Jamal Murray. Like what? Like it's just like such
Yeah.
a well-oiled machine, and they've been playing together for such a long time that it's hard for me to like look at Denver, and they still have. I think they still have KCP. Yeah, they
Yeah,
didn't lose
they do.
both of them. I'm just like,
The whole starting lineup's coming back, so yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to see, especially with how like just their run, where everyone like it's so funny where it's like when the Kevin Durant to Phoenix thing happened, you're just like, oh shit, and the Nuggets were like, we don't care. We're gonna just
Dude, speaking as a Nuggets fan, I cared when it happened. Like, I remember I was working real early in the mornings. I was doing like 6 a.m. shifts or something back then, and I woke up at like
yeah.
2. My phone went off, and it was the Woj notification that's like KD to the Suns. I could not sleep for like 45 minutes because the Nuggets had been rolling at that point, and
Mhm.
like. I wasn't like sold that the Suns were gonna sweep us or anything, but like I don't know. You're not thinking that logically in the morning. I'm just like, fuck, why can't it just be easy for once? Why does Kevin Durant need to come to our conference like opponent? It just fucking yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I could geek out about the Nuggets all day, obviously, but I think you're definitely on the right track with how just like overwhelming Jokic is a lot of the time, especially in that finals matchup. I was going to say it was always really funny to me how you could tell Spoelstra would like throw experiment, experiment, experiment. He'd have to like take a second, back off with everything. It'd just be like
Yeah.
Cody Summer out there like fighting for his life one on one. And it's like, dude, this is
Dude,
tough. It's hard to
the
watch.
the fact that he was like he was missing like Hero and Oladipo and still got them there was like a big accomplishment. But I still think that like even if even if the Miami Heat were at full strength, they were going to be cooked regardless.
Yeah. Because
That's
I
one of
mean,
the
yeah,
things.
if you have Hero like matching Jamal Murray's production, which is a huge ask for a guy like Tyler Hero, I
Yeah.
don't think. Yeah, Jokic's just on some other shit.
But
I
like,
don't know.
so I
You
definitely think that the Suns this year, now that they got Beal, I'm like they're gonna be like a great regular season team. But but it's so tough to like be like such a top heavy team. I don't know. I just can't.
I mean, yeah, like it's when your sixth best player is what? Maybe Yuta Watanabe. I'm not exactly sure what like the bottom of the Suns looks like right now, but when guys like that are like really pushing to be your sixth man, it's
Yeah.
hard to win a championship like that. Like if they do it, props to them. That's why I'm really happy that Denver took care of business last season. Now I can kind of be like, if they repeat, hell yeah. But if Kevin Durant like goes on some all-time shit next season in the playoffs and like they figure it out and like it gels kind of the way Brooklyn was for a little while there,
Yeah.
more power to them. It is what it is. That wouldn't surprise me. They're all like world-class guys who can really play off of each other pretty well.
Yeah. I agree. Like I feel like Beal, Booker, and Durant is just gonna be like it's gonna be a basketball clinic, of course. So I'm gonna be like, hey, this is beautiful basketball. You rarely get to see like this, but I can't just be like, oh my god, the Suns got this player championship. I can't. I'm never gonna be that person for like ever.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you like with Milwaukee and Golden State. Depth and defense, which the Suns don't really have either of those to an extreme degree.
Yeah.
Those have both been like really important to the last several title runs. So I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm same with you, tentative Nuggets repeat, but nothing would surprise me if the Lakers get like a really good string of health and Anthony Davis figures out how to like hit his mid ranges again. Anything's possible with a number of these teams.
Yeah, I think the Lakers I feel like had a like good off season. I was like, dang. It's like because getting Cam Reddish on the like I'm still big on Cam Reddish and just like give him the time, give him the opportunity. getting Gabe Vincent as well, like really underrated
That's a big get.
move.
And
Yeah,
Austin Reeves' contract, holy shit, dude. That I
yeah,
like. I was getting trolled by like, Ballsack Sports or something when I saw that, where it's like 4 years, 56 million, something like that. And he's like one of, if not the best player on Team USA right now. That's like probably the best contract in basketball. It's just such a Lakers thing to have happen that nobody even like
Ye-
threw him a max deal in free agency. That was all he got.
yeah. And I feel like that core together, like Reeves, LeBron, like Anthony Davis. But the thing is that Rui actually played pretty well. I feel like in some series, and I was just like, dang, they could. Like, there's never been a like with LeBron on the Lakers. Like, you always with any team that LeBron's on, you just like for years you just look at it and you're like, they could do it because it's LeBron, like so. And this is one of those teams where it's like, hey, it's more than just LeBron. Like, they got this, like it's really solid. So dark horse. I know that Lakers fans are going to be insufferable the entire season because that's just basically what the fan base does, which is like very funny to watch. I just like love it. I'm just like because they had what was that? They had Matt Ryan hit a game winner or something. Well, who's that? That the
Yes, it
cheater
was
that
Matt Ryan. I remember that.
dude. This funny is that's such a funny Lakers season where they were at a point because I thought that they were gonna for a while. I thought it was like they're gonna help the Pelicans get Wembanyama because they were so bad and they didn't even own that pick. I was like, this is gonna be so funny. I thought that would have
It's
been the
a
funniest thing ever.
it's a miraculous turnaround, really, when you look at like what that Westbrook trade did to their
Yeah,
roster, and then to be like back here. And a lot of that again is like you get advantages when the Lakers in terms of guys like wanting to be there and all that. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's impressive nonetheless having depth and defense and top tier talent after. Dude, yeah, that Westbrook trade is so disgusting in retrospect. So yeah,
yeah.
I mean, good.
I was
It is what it is.
when I saw it, I was like, yo, you guys got all that back, man. I'm upset. Like, I was like, you can't keep getting away with this, but you can because it's LA. So
Yeah, it's LA. That's all you got. Okay. Well, that's all I really have for you today. Is there anything that you like to plug as far as self promo goes?
you can follow me on TikTok at Kofiewhy, Twitter at Kofie Kofie, YouTube at Kofiewhy, and Twitch at Kofiewhy as well.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, once again, thank you for coming on. It was a wonderful time talking about Detroit basketball and a little something extra
Anytime.
with you. I'm looking forward to the season, and I'm looking forward to watching Cade Cunningham.
I am also looking forward to watching Kate Cunningham.
All right. Perfect. All right. Everyone listening, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Perfect.